If you're spending less than $20 a month for prescription drugs, great. If not, monthlyfeerx.com might be a good option for you. Let's look at the Brian's Beat quote of the day. It's from George Burns. Look to the future because that's where you'll spend the rest of your life. Whew. Talk about being on point. Look to the future because that's where you'll spend the rest of your life. All right, before we take a break, let's hear from you. 508-996-0500. Hello.
Good morning, Brian. How are you, sir?
Brian is winging. Brian is wanging.
Yes, I really enjoyed that segment. It's when you talked about women's cartoons. First thing that came to my mind is like when I was growing up was I think it was Josie and the Pussycats.
Yep, coming up next hour.
Yeah, and the other one I could think of that had women as like a main role was maybe Scooby-Doo. Maybe that's another one.
Yeah, but I think the dog is going to take that one in that particular case.
I'm just thinking about characters that I grew up with that stick out, you know?
Sure.
But I know yesterday you were talking, and it was a very good segment there with Barry, about the State of the Union, which I really thought was a state of confusion.
Yeah, it still is.
It still is. But you know something? I think you brought it up, if I'm right. The president talked everything except about our country. First thing that he brought up was the Ukraine. Mm-hmm. And let's talk about the Ukraine, like, quickly, because it's off the radar, and there's a reason why. Again, you have to go to Europe, and you have to go around the world, which you do, because we don't have a fair and balanced media on both sides. But isn't it very interesting, in the Ukraine about 4 weeks ago, maybe more than that, with the permission of Parliament, Zelensky got martial law, because there was going to be an election coming up this month in March. And his opponent was talking about peace with Russia, and he had a plan. Because a lot of people, which we don't hear about in the Ukraine, want some kind of compromise. And that's not being told about our media. But quickly, with the American government probably encouragement and with the CIA, they squashed it. Because war is money. That's what it's
big
about.
Money.
Right?
You know, I might be off, but I believe the ask price from Congress was $61 or $64 million for Ukraine. And
I think it was more than that.
How much? I mean that they're asking in this round of financing.
In this round,
Yeah.
It's something outrageous. I know it's very little for Israel compared to what's given to the Ukraine, but either way, I'm on the same boat that you are. Before we give any money to any country, including Israel, we have to defend ourselves first. It just blows my mind how anybody on both sides could disagree with that argument. On both sides, could disagree with. How about defending our borders first and our sovereignty first and our security first? Because we cannot help the world if we can't help ourselves.
I think you make perfectly good sense, but you would get some people in this administration arguing that, you know, quite a bit of that $61 or $64 million is going to be spent here in the United States.
Very little.
No, a lot of it. Raytheon, Boeing. These are the people that make the bullets and the missiles and all those things that are going to get shipped overseas.
Yeah.
So you are, in effect, taking care of the people that have already been taken care of.
Yeah, you have a point there. It's the military war complex, but you're talking about this. The thing that they're talking about is this border bill, which I actually saw the detail. I actually read the bill, Brian. Do you believe that? I saw details of this whole bill. He keeps on talking about all the people that he's going to put on the border. They're all office jobs. He refused to finish the fence in this border program. He refused to have checkpoints, like 2 major checkpoints.
So I'm going to stop you for a second because I just need you to say who he is.
The president's administration.
Okay.
The president's administration.
You just need to say who he is so people get an idea.
Okay. I never say. Honestly, the reason why I say who he is, I don't know who he is. Okay, we do not have the president, and people might disagree all they want. If you believe that man is running the country, you need to be examined. I'm sorry.
More than he does.
More than him. But, Brian, all jokes aside, Brian, this is unprecedented in our country. The only president I can think of that was this uncapacitated to this point was, God, help me out. Was it Clover Cleveland? No. Coolidge, I'm thinking in the 20s when he had the major stroke and his wife was basically running the country for the last, maybe year or so, year and a half. It was during it was 1918 to 1920. That was it Coolidge or Hoover?
Well, I know Coolidge was in office during that particular time.
I think he's the one that had a major
in the
stroke.
1900s, but I didn't know that he had a stroke.
It could be Hoover. I'm trying to remember now. He had a major stroke, and basically his wife was running the country. And but that's the only time in our country's history that we know of that a president's been this much mentally out of it that he cannot run the country. We all know.
I hear what you're saying, and that may be true, but I am under the impression from watching politics since the 60s that you may have a president, but a president of the United States is like the president of a nonprofit. You report to a board, and the board makes a lot of decisions. You are the mouthpiece for that board.
I agree with you to a point, but you need someone like an alpha male or a woman who's very headstrong to basically make that final decision, and we don't have that right now. And you could say what you want about the former guy, and I know you're not a Trump fan, and I wish there were different people to pick from already, to be quite honest with you, because they're both up there in age. But you got the sense that he was like the bull in the china shop, that he made the final decision at least, and that's what I want. I
think you're absolutely correct, and I think that's one of the reasons he's out of office.
Yeah,
I really do. I think that's one of the reasons Donald Trump is out of office is because he was trying to drain a swamp.
Yeah,
that's what he called it.
In a way. And Brian, I'll leave you with this. Since I can remember, since Jimmy Carter's administration, that's when I was very small. As I was born during the Nixon administration, so I was born in '71. So I do remember Jimmy Carter. I remember the whole hostage thing. I remember seeing Dan Rather it could have been Walter Cronkite still. Every day they had the countdown of the hostages and stuff is like in Iran and stuff like that. And since that time, every president when they take office, they either have us in an entanglement or put us in an entanglement, some kind of foreign war. Trump was the only president that took us out of wars and did not put us into wars. Okay? People either inherited him or they made him larger. Carter was Afghanistan. Of course, Reagan was Russia and Afghanistan also, and Iran. Everybody had a bad guy. Our new boogeyman now is Putin from Russia. He's the new boogeyman. Okay? We always get a boogeyman. The last administration was the only time that I can remember that he got away from that. He was pulling, and Afghanistan now quickly.
Well, we were in Afghanistan when Trump was in office.
Yes.
In fact, he tried to pull the plug on it, but we were still there.
Yes. Yeah, but he was trying to come out, not the way that we came out. Because the way that he came out now, do you know right now, it just came out last week, they have 15 new training camps of Al-Qaeda in the border of Afghanistan. 25 provinces now in Afghanistan are run by Al-Qaeda. The same group that we wanted to get rid of that caused the 9/11 attack. They are being funded by Iran, the bases all over in Afghanistan. If anything, we emboldened them and made them stronger. So basically, we're getting set up for another war. So we had them defeated. Now let's get them set up.
I don't know that we have them defeated.
No, but I mean they're going to be the next boogeyman.
Oh, I hear what you're saying, but the bottom line is the bottom line. We did not have them defeated. We may have been able to quell them for a bit, but
we had them under control.
You know what? If they were under control, they would have stopped and they would have acquiesced. They weren't under control. They were underground.
Underground, okay, but they weren't as much of a threat, I think, as they're going to be again in the future. But what I'm trying to say is, every time that we try to squash something, every administration since Trump backs away, lets the problem get worse, or they invent a new problem, just like the Ukraine. I've just told you a month ago, the candidate and the opposition had an idea about peace talks with Russia. This could have been over, but what did they do? he declares martial law. How many people have spoken against it? People, even Christians, have been put in prison in the Ukraine who spoke against them. There's priests in prison right now. Okay, that's not a democracy in the Ukraine. Okay, it's the same thing as Russia. He rules with an iron fist, but he's our guy now. Just like during Afghanistan, we created Bin Laden in the 70s with Jimmy Carter, right? Mm-hmm. We created the monster, just like we're creating this. We create it, we make money off it, our people die, and few people make money.
I think a lot of people make money. I think I'm going to come back to where I was before, and they're going to let you go. Raytheon is making money. Boeing is making money.
Brian. I agree.
Northrop Grumman, people are making money.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks for the call. I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian.
Great way to start off a Saturday. I don't know about starting off Sunday. We spring ahead. Before you go to bed, turn those clocks. Tick, tick, tick. Ahead an hour. We're expecting a lot of rain tonight, too. 508-996-0500. We are also springing ahead. I can't figure this out. Why is it that twice a year we turn the clocks? Now, the almost rational side of me understands, to give us a little extra sunlight. Except, are you really getting an extra hour of sunlight? I guess you are toward the end of the day, but you sacrifice in the morning. And then when we turn the clocks back in, the first Sunday in November, we get one less hour in the evening, but supposedly one earlier hour in the morning. It's in a 24-hour clock, it's the same. Now, here's the other thing. 4 months ago, we changed the clocks. It's not even half the year. We changed the clocks that first Sunday in November. Remember? Not trying to make a rhyme scheme there, but that's when we did it. So you have all of November, all of December, all of January, all of February, and a week and a half of March? And we're changing the clocks again. It seems to me that, let's say 10, 15 years ago, it was more balanced. We would change the clocks in April and change the clocks in October. Now, I don't know who makes up these rules. Speaking of making up the rules, our own Senator Markey, wouldn't you know it, and Marco Rubio of Florida. So one Democrat, one Republican. These guys, all I can say is, this is Markey hard at work for the yous and me's. This is Rubio hard at work for the yous and me's. They have filed a bill in the U.S. Senate to make daylight savings time permanent. Now, of all the different things that these guys could be working on, daylight savings time is right up there at the top of the list. And the bill's out there. It probably goes nowhere. Probably goes nowhere. But I guess Senators Markey and Rubio can kick back and say, well, we tried our best. We know that the rhythms of people go off at a particular time. We'll file again next session, which means Markey is going to be with us for an additional 2 more years, and then an additional 2 more. It never stops. Never seems to stop. So your feelings, I've asked this question before. Why? Because it keeps on coming up. Daylight savings time or standard time. I suppose if I'm choosing one or the other, I would say let's stay with daylight savings time, because I like it when it's a little bit lighter during the tail end of the day. Just a thought. 508-996-0500. That is how you can get on to the program to talk about this daylight savings time. Are you tired of having to flip the clocks? And here's what's going to happen. What's going to happen. Woman friend, if you're up, this is pointed right at you. I'm going to turn one of the clocks in the kitchen. We have two, one on the stove, one on the microwave. And I will take my cell phone and I will sync my cell phone, which is supposed to be an atomic time, to either the microwave or the oven. Doesn't matter which one. And I'll say to woman friend, you do the other one. All of a sudden, I don't know how to do it. You've done it before, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it. Oh, man. It's not the Space Shuttle Discovery. This is not rocket science. Take your cell phone. When it says, whatever time it says, set the clock to it, and it'll work. I don't know. 508-996-0500. Hello.
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 Brian. I am very against going permanent for daylight saving time. I don't do it myself now. Years ago, I was having my oil changed at Alden Buick. They had on a documentary about how bad it is, especially for people with heart problems, to have the clocks changed. So ever since then, I don't do it. I'm retired, so I don't care. If I get there on time, I do. That's all I could say.
So you don't change your clocks?
I do one in the kitchen, and that's it.
Okay.
The other not in the car, nothing.
What about? But you must have a cell phone.
What?
That changes automatically.
I don't pay. I don't usually bring it with me anywhere. It stays at home. So I have a home phone and a cell phone, but that's like, it doesn't bother me. But I think it made me feel better. Last year was the first year I boycotted it. So I'll let you know at the end of this time. And it is a longer time. And when I was a kid, my mother used to say it was for the farmers, so they'll have more time to farm. But now they say, oh, no, that's not the reason.
You know, I've never heard a farmer say anything like that. Have you?
No.
I've never heard a farmer say, well, you know what, we want to change the clocks so we have a better planting season or a harvest. Yeah, I've never heard a farmer say that.
Oh, this was like in the 50s, my mother would say that. That's why they did it.
I mean, that's what I've always heard, but I've never heard from a farmer say anything along those lines.
Well, I guess I better visit some today and see what's happening.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's not good for your health. That's all I can say for now.
Well, I'll keep that in mind. I don't know if I should sleep an hour later or get up an hour earlier.
Well, I think I'm already adapting because I usually don't get out till 7:30. Today we're up at 6 o'clock walking the dog, so it's already pushing me. I'm like, stop it.
Oh, I heard a story about dogs too, pets.
It's bad for them.
It's bad for them. Now, yeah. Who's the rocket scientist that was sitting down looking at pets to find out that the dogs are thrown off by changing the clocks?
Yeah, because they look at you at when it's supper time or breakfast time, and it's really not that time yet. Because of it.
I'm tricking you.
I know.
Hey, thanks for the call. I do appreciate it. We have Jim and the Bitcoin Biz Barometer coming up in just a bit. Hello.
Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Brian.
How's the food going with the diabetes? Have you?
Excellent, actually. I even got some A1C numbers.
That's great.
My
wow.
A1C. Yeah, well, March 14th, so almost a year ago, it was 14.6.
Wow, that's outrageous.
It was. February 24th is when I had my last A1C done, 4.9.
That's incredible. And no med, huh?
No meds.
Isn't that wonderful? Some people just can't believe that. The reason I'm calling you is because I don't know if you heard about it yet. I follow a lot of different I mean, a lot of different really good doctors on their YouTube channel. That's where I learned a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one that I saw his latest video last night, and he invented this app. It's an app, and I believe it's already out. I can send you a link if you want it. It's an app that, you go when you go shopping, and you'll scan food and stuff like that, and it's going to tell you, I mean, it goes beyond. It tells you every single thing about all the ingredients. Like when you turn the package over, you can see the nutritional fat. Well,
Yes.
This goes beyond. It tells you every single thing about almost every single food sold in the U.S., and even for cosmetic ingredients, and it'll tell you all the criteria on it. I mean, every fact about it, the FDA assessment, the concerns of the origins, where the ingredient comes from, how they manufacture the product. They give you a big detailed reference of whether it's good for you, because you can set it for whatever illness you have or whatever you're allergic to. It's going to give you every single thing. It's a free app. It will let you donate if you want to donate money, but it will tell you every single thing, and it's an amazing thing to have with you when you're
And what's the app's name?
Yes, it's called Perfect. When you say the word perfect, you only change one word. It's Perfect instead of I can send you the link. It's PERSACT, and that doctor's name is Dr. Robert Lustig. I don't know. You must have heard.
Is it a .org, a .com, a .net?
Let's see. Perfect.co.
Okay, CO is one, yeah. And I can get the app through that.
And at the end, it's an HTML page. No, not the app. I'm going to give you the link to the whole website that's telling you way more than I can tell you about the product of the app. It's a page that comes up, and it's got so many. Then it's got all the names of all the doctors. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out of those 7 doctors, I follow 4 of them right now. I mean, I learned so much with them, and this is how I lowered my A1C and got off the medicine. But Brian, once we stray a little bit, the numbers could climb back up again on the A1C. This is why
you're absolutely right. Yeah,
you got to be on it.
I allow myself a few moments of fun, but then I go right back on because I know if I don't, then I'm doomed.
Well, I learned from this guy, the one that made this app. He says, of course, we have to keep it naturally way low carb or under. I'm under 20 grams. I don't know about you. And there's days I'm strictly carnivore. There's no carb. But every now and then if I want something, now according to this doctor, he says, well, a lot of people think, oh, I'm so low carb, I can eat this, I can eat that. But this guy, he's all about dessert. He likes the dessert, which isn't all the time. But if you stick to that mainly very, very low carb or carnivore, every now and then, if you want the ice cream, if you want the pizza, then you have at it. But you have to remember, if you're going to do that, you have to keep it low carb. Because if you're going to add everything up, if you have toast for breakfast or if you have a hash brown, that's carbohydrate. So if you're going to do this, you can't do the dessert on top of that.
I miss my bread. I miss my potatoes. That's for sure.
You do? See,
I do miss them. I except for Thanksgiving, I haven't had them. The potatoes and the bread because of the stuffing. Other than that,
I don't either. I don't miss the bread or the potatoes, and the corn is absolutely poison for anybody diabetic. And all the juices. I know you're not touching any of the juices, right?
Nope. No, I'm good.
That's amazing, and congratulations down into the 4s. Yeah. You can't go any lower than that without turning into a zombie.
Well, let's see what I can do. Hey, thanks for the call. I really do appreciate it. And I see you there on the line, and I'm going to get to you in just a sec. I got to pay a bill or two, and also, yeah, Jim, I know you're over there. You've been very patient. So let's go over to Studio 6 and 7/8. That's where Jim Phillips is with our Town Square Sunday update.
Morning, Brian. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jim Phillips. Here's what's happening this week on Town Square Sunday. We'll tell you about a birthday fundraiser for 13-year-old Ashlyn Costa as she battles an aggressive form of cancer. The Springtime Hunger Heroes food drop is happening later this month. The United Way's Victoria Grisella has details. And it's going to be a busy time at the Dartmouth Cultural Center as renovation plans are finalized on their historic building. Pauline Santos will have the lowdown on the work being done and 2 exhibits opening in March and April. Join me this week for Town Square Sunday, Sunday morning at 6 and 11 on 1420 WBSM and 99.5 FM.
Thanks very much, Jim. Aha, the Bitcoin Biz Barometer. First, big news, big news. Bitcoin this week, I believe it was Thursday, reached an all-time high of $69,000 per coin. Congratulations to Bitcoin. Bitcoin was up $6,526 today over last week at this time, coming in at 61,974. So now you can see, wait a minute, you just said it reached an all-time high of 69. It did, but it's gone down a bit. But it's still up over last week at this time. Ethereum coming in at $3,940. That's up $1,164 from last week at this time. Binance Coin up $78 at $488. Solana up 19, it's up 19 at $149. XRP even at 62 cents. Cardano is up a penny at 73 cents. And Dogecoin coming in at 17 cents. That's up 3 cents from last week at this time. Bitcoin, it's something I was going to tell you last week. Unfortunately, I forgot to tell you. I looked up the numbers, but I didn't dispense them to you. Last week, when Bitcoin was a shining example, the year before on March 2nd, it was $23,364. The difference, $45,000 and change. If you want to go to March 2nd of 2022, the price on that date was $43,225. Looking at today's numbers, you're up $25,275 from a year ago. 2 years ago, rather. That's your Bitcoin Biz Barometer for today, March 9th, 2024. As always, I get my numbers from CoinMarketCap.com. CoinMarketCap.com. All right, let's get back to your calls, 508-996-0500. Let's go here. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, that person who previously called was talking about a president who was incapacitated by a stroke, and that was Woodrow Wilson.
It was Wilson. Okay, all right.
Yeah, his
Not
wife
Calvin.
really. Yeah, I was a history major, and so this stuff is still in the back of my brain, you know. And he went to the peace conference that ended World War I in Paris. It was, where the Germans surrendered. And most people feel that it was such a taxing proposition there because he was trying to form a League of Nations similar to what we have the United Nations now so that they could avoid another war, which we all know was a total failure. But it took a lot out of him. He wasn't a young man, and he came back to the United States and had a stroke soon after that. And his wife pretty much ran the country from 1918 to 1920 when Harding was elected, who also died in office after about 3 years. And that's when Coolidge came in. He was a vice president.
Not a big Woodrow Wilson fan.
Oh, yeah, it definitely was. Yeah, Woodrow Wilson, yeah. He was in a wheelchair and not pretty much incapacitated. A stroke does a lot of damage to some people.
It can, yes, it can.
Yeah. So I just thought I'd call in that.
Well, I appreciate the commentary.
Okay,
I'm still not a Woodrow Wilson fan.
Neither am I.
Okay, good enough.
Have a good one.
You too, 508-996-0500. Hello.
Yeah, good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Brian.
You know, on another two presidents that they think the wives were running it is FDR towards the end of his presidential term, and Ronald Reagan. They say Nancy Reagan was running the show at the end of his second term because he was starting to get the beginnings of dementia. So that's another thing I thought I'd bring up.
I didn't hear anybody say Hillary Clinton.
No, I haven't.
She was running the show right from the get-go.
Yeah, she was running the show when he was governor of Arkansas, too. That's what some say.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's any truth to it.
Look, the one thing that we can say, she was a leader. Like her or not, she was a leader.
In what capacity? No, I don't know if she's a leader now. Maybe a lot of scandal and everything surrounding around.
But doesn't that happen to all of them or most of them?
Well, the corrupt ones like Joe Biden, yeah. But I wanted to.
Wait a minute. You got to admit, Donald Trump had scandals. I don't know how many scandals Obama had. And honestly, I don't know that Bush had
Barack
too many
Obama
scandals.
was fast and furious, the selling of arms to Mexican cartels. That's what was reported back then. I want to talk about our illegal immigration crisis.
What crisis?
According to Joe Biden, everything's great.
It was down near the bottom of his speech, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's true. But in Florida, there's a crisis, too. A lot of Haitians because of all that civil unrest and that coup that's taking place there. Many coming over in boats in Florida is being overrun every day. And according to the Daily Mail, a lot of these illegals are taxpayer-funded, flying in unmarked planes. According to the Daily Mail, they fill out a CVP app, and they put all the information in, and they can fly around 40 different airports in the United States. That's why we saw all of them sleeping around at the airports, because they're being flown around at taxpayer expense by Joe Biden. His agreement with the United Nations and all of the funding all these illegals at over $1 billion through the UNICEF and UNHCR and IOM and all the nonprofits, Catholic Charities USA, American Red Cross, United Way, Salvation Army. That's only a few of the 240 NGOs and 15 United UN agencies. So they're being paid to invade our nation, but Joe Biden just cares about the shrinking of cookies and potato chips, the sizes.
You know what? I hear this talk, and I'm not doubting you. I am about the cookies and potato chips part, but it seems to me at some particular time, folks have to grasp onto what's really happening. The reality is that the United States, big business, medium-sized business, they want the illegals to come here. People who fund these campaigns, they want folks to come here. The politicians realize that our population, the way that it is, that we need more people to work here. So there isn't really going to be that change of policy. You can build a wall all you want. It's not going to stop what's going on.
Well, they're coming in regardless of wall or no wall.
Well,
it's more
that's
like
what I'm getting at.
I
think we need to get to the point where either we as Massachusetts residents, we are going to be accepting, and if we're going to be accepting, figure out what to do as far as having people get jobs, because otherwise they're going to drain our tax dollars dry.
Well, that's what they're doing. They're coming in through Buena Vista, Arizona, Jacuma Springs, California, Brackettsville, Texas. It's a small town in Texas. They're being all smuggled in. Human traffickers are being stopped by both the Texas State Police and Brackettsville Police, the sheriff's office, smuggling teenagers, driving around in vehicles smuggling all kinds of illegals in. But let me just finish on a story. When Mitt Romney was running for president, he was in the airport, and he was stopped by a reporter, and he asked him, Governor, do you know that on your property there are illegals taking care of your landscaping? And he looked at him and smiled, oh, my, and he kept on walking to the plane. So he knew about it back then.
Sure. You got it. People know about it, and people employ them. They may come out and say one thing, but they do the opposite. Hey, thanks so much for the call. I really do appreciate it. 508-996-0500. Good friend of mine from when I was a kid. I have known her since she was 5-6 years old, and I was 10. Her brother and I were best friends. She makes a good wad of money, and she would hire someone that was illegal to care for her child. Now, I don't know what kind of background check she did, but she was very happy with the work that the person was doing. You'd be surprised. You know, folks that are trying to get here and have come into the United States illegally, what they will do, to not get caught and deported, but how great a job they do as far as work is concerned. And to my friend, she says, I'm getting my bang for my buck and a lot more. Boop, boop. We're back. So I can harp on about illegals, and I suppose I could say, I told you so. I don't want to get into that. I hear the stories, but that's what they are. They are stories. People are upset. I don't see anybody going up to the State House to file some type of bill or to find a ballot initiative to repeal this right to shelter law. I hear a lot of people complaining about it, but you're not doing a darn thing about it other than complain. And is anything changing because of the complaining? No. Are you telling your local politician that you won't vote for her or him unless they come up with the legislation to change this policy for the right to shelter, to take the money away, to take back whatever can be taken back? No. Or you might pick up the phone call and make a nice little phone call and you don't hear from anybody, and then that's it. So what do you expect? Unless you are a lobbyist, you're not really going to get anywhere with the Markeys, senator or state rep, with the Cabrals, with the Montignes, with the Strausses. You're not going to get anywhere with these folks. Nothing to hang your hat on. So I come back to you. If that's all you can do is muster up a couple of complaints, and it sounds good. I understand. I get it. But if you don't do anything, the swamp continues to grow. And I've just gotten to the point where I figure y'all want the swamp to grow. Because you're not doing anything more than what I'm able to do every once in a while. And, I guess the difference, look, I complain to my libertarian colleagues about what's going on, and they don't like it. And I said, well, hey, this is why we can get up candidates, but even they all of a sudden frown an ear. So what are we supposed to do? I don't see anybody saying, let's start a Boston Tea Party. I don't see anybody saying, well, let's shut down this election. I don't see anybody saying, stop the presses. I don't see reporters really getting out there and doing yeoman work in order to stop what's going on, or at least to highlight it to the point that it's front page news all the time. So absent any of these things, why would you expect something to change? I said it at the beginning of the hour in my little headline news that there's a new report out stating that New Bedford needs to increase housing units by 5,500. 5,500 housing units. And my thought has been, where are you going to put them? Where are you going to put 5,500 housing units? There is building going on in downtown New Bedford. Across the street from the YMCA, up at the old registry building, down adjacent to or connecting to the former National. But that's not even a dent in the amount of housing that will be needed. 5,500 housing units. By the way, 8,700 in SouthCoast. So basically from Fall River to Wareham. And if you can't put 5,500 in New Bedford and you still have that goal of 8,700, how welcoming is Acushnet, Fairhaven, Mattapoisett, Dartmouth, Westport? You get the point. 8,700 housing units necessary, and I believe necessary by the end of the decade. And who's going to live in these units? I can agree with most people, the more housing units you have, the better off as far as maybe helping to lower the price. But we have